and welcome. You are listening to At Home with Ifeno. Here, we'll talk about helping women know and understand their worth, find fulfillment in who they are, and in what they do. Every other week, we'll talk about your identity as a woman, discovering your unique purpose, intentionally raising the next generation, and your influence in homemaking. I am your host, Ifoma Neka Omoni. Hello, and welcome to At Home with Ifeno. How are you today? Yes, it's the beginning of a brand new month. Wow, July. Time is going. We are already mid of the year, and I'm sure you are assessing yourself and going through the things that you need to focus more on and be more objective in all that you desire to do. But most of all, just like our last episode was on becoming, who you become will determine how far you will go on your journey on earth here. So I welcome you and I say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are joining us all over the world. It's a brand new day with great opportunities. This is a new day, clean slate, and it promises to be rewarding, especially as you take your time to listen to At Home with Ifeno podcast today. So get your sweet spot if you're at home, taking care of the children, my wonderful homemakers. Give me your listening attention because this would benefit you. You are a homemaker today doesn't mean that you will always remain in that, role, or you would be restricted or bounded by just focusing on your home and things like that. No, you are evolving, and when you get to the new season of your life, as you prepare now, it will take you to the next season and you will enjoy that season. So please listen attentively, get your friends, remind your colleagues to tune in to At Home with Ifeno podcast, and that there's something valuable they are going to get, which will help them as we journey through life together. Okay, so I just also want to say that our podcast now airs also on the YouTube channel. Yes, and it's found as At Home with Ifeno podcast. That is what it's found as on YouTube. So just go to YouTube, At Home with Ifeno podcast. Please click the subscribe button and like our videos. Those ones that have really resonated with you, please comment on our channel. Comment, send us your feedbacks, and we would respond to your comments. Thank you for being on this journey with me. It's really been an interesting ride with its ups and downs. That's how life is. But we keep moving, being inspired and encouraged, to come out with the best version of ourselves, to come out stronger and better, despite what challenges or difficulties we find every day as we journey together. So welcome once again. And today's episode is a continuation of the Discovering You series. So, we started with Discovering You. The first one was about who you are, who am I? Trying to know our identity comes from our Creator, God Almighty. That is very foundational, that is very pivotal. Our identity does not come from our roles, from the things we have, the titles we have. No, our identity comes from God because we came from Him. And we dealt a lot about that on that episode. I think that was episode 64 or so, if I'm correct. And then the last episode we had was becoming. In discovering who you are, you need to become, and becoming never ends. As long as we are still breathing and alive, we will keep becoming, evolving, transforming into a beautiful version of who we are, so that we can reflect our Creator's nature, so that we can reflect God's nature, because we came from Him. So today on our episode, we'll be dealing with discovering you, and we want to talk about having. What does it mean to have, and what are we having? And so I will start with some quotes here and say, until you are happy with who you are, you will never be happy with what you have, by Zig Ziglar. Until you, my listener, and I are happy with who you are, you will never be happy with what you have. Another one says, be thankful for what you have. You will end up having more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you will never have enough. I'll take that again. Be thankful for what you have. You will end up having more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you will never have enough. And the last one I will take here is, be happy with what you have and are. Be generous with both, and you won't have to hunt for happiness. Be happy with what you have and are. Be generous with both, and you won't have to hunt for happiness. These are quotes that are encouraging us about enjoying who we are becoming, even though we're still on that process. And then when we have what we have always wanted, how we go through that, how we utilize that, so that we will enjoy our journey here on earth. So I say welcome once again. And on this aspect of having, I'll be focusing on two aspects, namely influence and affluence. Influence and affluence. Affluence is another word for wealth, possessions. So in discovering who you are, you desire to have. And this is something that many of us are always eager to, have. We desire to have things. We desire to have the titles and everything. But before we get to having, we must become, because becoming is critical to how we'll be successful and sustain whatever we have. So first of all, I'd like us to look at the meaning of have. What does it mean to have? To have means to possess, to own, and to hold. It means something that is owned, something that you have, you possess. The goods, the houses, the cars, But personally, I believe that influence is very, very key. Your influence is something that is very powerful and should be considered foundational even before you start thinking of affluence, thinking about money. We need the money. To be very sincere, if I don't have some resources, I won't be here, on At Home with Ifeno. That's the truth. Even though I don't want to go into the story of that today. But influence is how you can, win people over, to change their behavior. And it could be positive or negative. So let's delve into this topic of discovering you and having. So you must become for you to truly have what would outlive you. Many times, we usually focus on what we can acquire, what we can possess, like I said, and we have that priority over becoming a better person, which dwells more on building our character. Becoming is needed to sustain what we eventually have and possess. So in having influence, what does it really mean? Influence is the ability to have significant effect on someone or something. It is a way of persuading or motivating someone to change their behavior, to change their opinion, or course of action. And like I said, influence can be positive or negative. Dear listener, since I started At Home with Ifeno podcast, I have been trying to, motivate you, persuade you through my guest that comes through when I have my personal recordings, my personal episodes with you. I have been trying to see how your opinions and the way you think, could be changed for good. Remember, I said that influence could also be negative, but the influence on At Home with Ifeno is a positive one. It's to improve ourselves, it's to build our homes, because I believe that better homes will build a better society and a better world. So influence is that ability. It's a significant effect one can have over a group of people or even just one person. And another word for influence is simply leadership. So we don't need titles to have leadership. We don't need, offices to have that influence. And it all begins from home. That's my sphere. That's the place where I love the home. Despite how challenging it could be, on how to navigate the different seasons of raising children, of supporting your spouse, of also going after the dreams in your heart. So our influence begins from home. Whether you are married or you're not married, you live with a group of people in a place called home, and you can have influence in that same place. So it's not just about, oh, I'm not married. For someone that might not be married today, listening to At Home with Ifeno, this is preparing you. And also to know that even in your homes, where you are still living with your parents or someone, you can have influence. Influence is about living a life, modeling a lifestyle, and being an example that could make people change from the negative way of living or doing things to a better way. That is when you have the positive influence. So as women, we can have a profound influence on our families, on our colleagues, associates, friends, and people we meet every day. Sometimes you might not know people closely, but if they continue to watch you unknowingly to you, you are influencing them. So the real deal is to make sure that we are doing something right when people are watching us, so that we are influencing them positively. Your positive influence in your homes. As a wife, you can be a source of support and encouragement and love to your husband, and vice versa. So it goes both ways. Whether you are a wife or a husband listening to me today, you can help him become a better person and achieve his goals. Many times in our relationships, especially in marriage, many spouses unconsciously get into a competitive spirit or atmosphere, and that's very, very, that's not what it's supposed to be. In a healthy relationship, spouses are meant to influence each other positively. You are not meant to be competing. You are meant to complement each other, helping each other to grow and learn better. Why would you as a wife, feel superior or inferior, whatever way you want to see, to your spouse? No, you are partners in this journey, and you are to look out for each other. You have your strengths, your spouse has his or her strengths too, and you are to help each other build yourselves up, build yourselves, help yourselves, correct yourselves in love. So as a wife, I'm here to talk about the influence a wife can have over her husband. It's not a domineering influence. Influence could be very subtle. You could be very soft, gentle, and you just find out that things are just taking their place. So it's not about being domineering. It's about bringing out the very best in your spouse. So as a wife, we need to use our influence positively. We should not use it to the destruction of our home. We should see how we can love each other as spouses and help each other to grow and to become better. As a mother, you can instill values, morals, and confidence in your children. Your children observe and learn more from what is modeled to you. Sometimes I usually try to readjust my disposition, knowing fully well that my children are watching me, especially my daughter. She is always, wondering, okay, mommy, why are you like this? What is happening? And things like that. And after the discussion or conversation with her, I just realized that these children are watching us. These children are looking at us. They do more of observing us than just what we tell them. I'm not saying we should not speak to them. Definitely in teaching you will speak, but it is more about what we model. The way they see us respond to different situations is where our influence can come from over our children. Never take your influence over your children for granted. The big challenge to us as mothers and as parents is that our influence should be positive and not negative. We will get it wrong many times, and when we do, we should, tell them the proper way to do whatever we might have done wrongly. We have that tendency to err. So let's not pretend that, everything is perfect with us. That is not being realistic, and the children can see through us. If we're pretending, they will know. So as a woman, I'm here to tell you that in order for you to have the things you are desiring, the first thing for me as a Feno is that your influence is powerful. And for you to have influence, to be able to help those around you, beginning from your homes, change, their behavior, your children, your spouse, your friends, your colleagues, those under your care as a woman, as a mother. Your influence is very, very key and vital, and we must use it positively, to be a blessing to those around us. You could also have influence with your friends, your peers, and your community. We are not to live life alone, dear listener. We are to build relationships. So this is foundation to having a positive influence. The first thing you should consider in having this influence amongst your friends, your peers, and your community is to be genuine, to be real. In a world where authenticity is really scarce, being authentic and real would help grow your influence as people with similar values like yours would easily connect with you. When you are authentic, when you are real, when you are original, you find out that people will easily connect with you. There's no need trying to be like anybody. There's no need trying to put up fronts that are not truly who you are. Just be you. Even if you have not gotten to that point where you feel, yes, people would respect you, be you and continue to grow. I never knew that I would be here today hosting a podcast, honestly. And I'm still on that journey. I don't have the best of communication skills as I desire, but I'm still at it. I'm still working on it. I'm showing up and reading, studying, improving, practicing. I might not see when I have evolved. Okay, no. So I went back to my previous episodes when I just started, and I found out I saw the change. I saw how I could easily, I had easily evolved, even in how I coordinated myself when I have guests. I saw the transition, and it's still on because I desire that I need to get better. So be genuine. There's no need trying to, fake it until you make it, as people say. No, be yourself and let people connect with your authenticity. And that way, your influence would flow from within you. So you could also starts by being genuine in having influence with your friends, community, and your peers. You could also be a good listener to influence others positively. You need to be a good listener. Listening is a very, very important skill that we need to learn. In a world now where everybody wants to say something, express themselves, and with social media giving people that, freedom, we might find out that many of us are not listening even to our family, listening to our children. Sometimes we could be so carried away with our phones that even when our children are telling us what happened in school, or our spouse is telling us how their day went, or even your wife is telling you as a man, this is what happened, and we are all wrapped up on social media, on our phones. No, we need to be a good listener if we are going to have a positive influence on people. Paying attention to what others have to say is a trait of a great influencer. You don't have to agree with all people say, but once you have this skill of listening, it could win the hearts of people. So for you to have influence, you need to be genuine, you need to be a good listener. Another thing that could help in our having influence is to be respectful and helpful. We need to treat everyone, I mean everyone, your cleaner, your house help, your security guard, whoever, those doing the mundane jobs around you. Never take anyone for granted. Treat everyone with dignity and courtesy. You know why? Because they came from where you are coming from. They are also human like you. The Creator made them. Yes, your status could look better than theirs today, but who told you that they will remain there? Who told you that they couldn't be the key to your next level? That having that affluence and influence you are looking for, those people that you think are insignificant could be the key to getting to where you are desiring. So we need to be respectful and treat people with courtesy, focusing on the good in their lives. Offer assistance when you can and be a source of encouragement. You see someone that you believe they can get better, speak to them, tell them they could go for training, they could do things that will help improve their job. Even your maids or whoever, who told you that you couldn't teach them things? Interestingly, they will not be with you forever, but your influence and your impact in those people's life is for a lifetime. So we should make sure that those things we do to people around us, the way we treat them, will be for good and not remembered by those people as a negative influence. When you build relationships with people based on being respectful and helpful, this will help. You will gain the trust and respect of others over time, making it more likely for you to have influence. You cannot influence people that you disrespect, including your children. You cannot influence people that you don't respect. You cannot influence people. You can't win them over. Yes, we could scream at our children. We could, lash out, but we must find the place where we draw them back. We assure them of the love we have for them. We assure them that they can confide in us, they can come to us. So these are the things: being respectful and helpful, being genuine, and being a good listener will help us in having that positive influence beginning from our homes. Having influence can also be very practicable by being a role model. We need to lead by example. Leading by example is an excellent way of having influence, and I want to say that it is not easy. Many times I, as Ifeno, I sometimes ask myself, am I really the best person to be giving the advice, and sharing what I'm sharing? Because I am still on my journey. but have come to realize, and I have learned, from my creator, from God, that you don't need to be perfect for you to encourage somebody. You can still be on your journey of becoming and still encourage those that are around you. So being a role model does not mean that you are perfect. It means that you are excellent. You are always working on yourself, moving higher and higher each day. And when I say perfection is that if you don't get it like this, then it is all nothing. No. So it really takes a lot of time and a lot to be a role model. If we are truly going to have that influence, that following that is important for people to see you, then we must take note of the following things I would like to say about being a role model. We must align our words with our actions. Yes, we must align our words with our actions. What we say and what we do must match. If our children, if the younger ones around us, if your employee, your staff, the people that you are leading don't see that what you say is matching with what you do, then there's a big problem. They would not take, that influence seriously. They will say, madam, she will say this one, she will do another one the next day. That's what will happen. So we need to match our words, what we say with what we do. And this is tough. This is not easy at times. I am saying it for myself, Ifeno. It is a continuous realignment of our words and our actions. So we must not fall into the group of people that say, do as I say and not as I do. Our message will be authentic if our family, our spouse, our children, and the larger community don't see, they see a corresponding action on what we say. And it will be not authentic. It will be inauthentic when what we say doesn't match with what we do. Secondly, for us to be a role model and have influence over those around us, we need to be patient. Patience is something that in the last few months, it is something that I have to learn, and I will keep learning. Change takes time. Change with my children will take time. Change with my spouse and myself will take time. So don't be discouraged if you don't see immediate results. Don't be discouraged over your children, your spouse, your siblings, your colleagues, whoever. The list goes on. Keep modeling the desired behavior as much as you can, and eventually others will start to follow. You also are in the process of changing. So as you work on yourself, others will see the difference and they will follow you. Having influence is a journey. I'll take that again. Having influence over people is a journey. It's not a destination. So we need to take it one day at a time and keep at it. You will have the influence you desire if you don't give up. So in discovering who you are, you desire to have. And I said the first and the greatest way of having, to me as Ifeno personally, it could be different for someone else listening to me today, is your influence. Because you could focus on having wealth and material gain, which is not bad. It's very important. It has its place, but there must be a balance. So your influence has a way of changing your environment, the people around you, the life of the people around you, and that is your legacy. Your influence is actually your legacy, and it needs to be the positive ones, because some people have the negative influence, which people always make reference to when they are no more. So if we go through this journey of influence by being respectful, being a role model, being patient and a good listener, and all that I have spoken about, then our influence would come over time. We need to give it time. It will not happen suddenly. Immediate results are not guaranteed in our journey of life. There is no instant influence. If you have that instant influence, I can guarantee you that you cannot sustain it if you have not worked on yourself. So the second part of having is affluence, which is where many of us focus on. What is affluence? Affluence refers to having a significant amount of wealth or possessions. It's generally associated with a comfortable or luxurious lifestyle. You know, that feeling of having enough, you are not worried, you need something, you can easily get it, you want to go here, you easily just, buy your ticket and take that trip. Your children, you believe they will go to the best of schools and everything. It's okay, it's fine. So affluence is about having more than enough to meet your basic needs and to afford many extras. Now, balancing influence and affluence could be very difficult, but it surely has great rewards. It requires a conscious effort. It requires a conscious effort. Many times, people that were down, the rung of the ladder, that didn't have sufficient resources, when they grow and have resources, if they have not worked on their character, they find out that they could easily become arrogant. Sometimes, or I've heard this saying that it is when someone has money that you really know if they were humble or not. When they didn't have the money, it seemed like they were humble, and then suddenly they have the money and you see this arrogance and pride and so much more that you never saw when they were in their low moments or they didn't have so much. So the truth is that it was actually there, but the affluence brought out what we couldn't see. So affluent money possessions is a way to test who we truly have become. And that's why I said the last episode on becoming is very critical, because when you have sorted out a lot of things on your becoming journey, when you get the affluence, you need to keep going back and reminding yourself that there must be a balance so that you don't get out of order or get out of control and you become something that you don't even want to see about yourself. So in order to maintain balance in our influence and then affluence, when we have so much of the resources, we must maintain humility. Always remember that true influence stems from character and not just wealth. Always remember that true influence stems from character and not just wealth. So it is not the money, the houses, the comforts, the titles that is really your influence. The wealth is actually supposed to be a tool to help you with the influence. You use the resources to be a blessing to others, and that's the second one that helps in maintaining the balance between influence and affluence. So use your resources for good. Leverage on your resources, your affluence, to support and empower others. And 3, stay grounded in God. Remember, your identity flows from God. Remember that everything you have and are should come from Him. You should never forget that. Stay grounded in God. Resist the isolating effects of your possessions. Surround yourselves with people that have value for who you are above what you have. So resist the temptation of, you feel that you are on a class that nobody can get to because you now have resources that is beyond even what you ever imagined. These are the ways we can balance influence and affluence. And remember that affluence is to better the lives of people after meeting your basic needs. That is the purpose. That is why such resources has come to you, and if you are not careful, you would go to the extreme, and people will see you in a light that might not be truly what you intended to become. Having affluence, if not controlled, can hinder one's having authentic influence. So if people don't see that authenticity, if people view you as displaying wealth in a way to get influence, then they will rather shift away from you. They will see that you are not relatable. Your lifestyle is making them feel that they can't come close to you and things like that. So we must not allow our affluence to steal our influence. This balance must really be managed. And like I said, I've mentioned that we need to maintain humility, remember the resources is not just about you, and stay grounded in God. Because even if all the resources disappear today, you should still remain who you are, because you have sorted out your identity in God and not even in material gain. Most of us feel that we cannot have a positive influence on others without having significant resources. This is not the case always. Yes, financial resources can certainly be a tool for influence, but it's far from being the only thing needed to have influence. Starting this podcast, I I would have given the excuse that, oh, I don't have this, I don't have that. There's a scripture that says, don't despise your days of little beginnings. Honestly, do you know that I started the podcast without the particular equipment I'm using today for my recording? I started with something that I could just easily find around home, because during the training I had, I was encouraged just to start from where I am. And when I look at my journey from then till now, like I said, I observed how I have grown. I observed that, okay, I didn't start with the equipment I desired, my mic and everything, and I'm still on that journey. I look forward to having a studio, a proper studio, very soon, one day. But while on that journey, I need to know that I don't need to have a studio before I start the podcast. So, and that will take resources. Many times, many of us don't go ahead to do what we desire or what has been laid in our hearts because we feel we don't have all the money. Honestly, I will tell my story one day about this podcast journey, and this part that has to do with you don't need all the affluence to to have influence, to start, to touch lives. So I'm a testimony to what I am sharing. Yes, I'm a testimony. You need to see where I am right now, having this conversation and recording this podcast with you. It's a small place like that. It's not tush and whatever you might say is a studio. But I've started, and that's what I want to tell you, that you start with the resources you have, and go slowly, gradually. As you grow and you see how you are evolving, it makes you appreciate your journey. It makes you be thankful. So yes, the resources are important, but it is not always all about having so much for you to have influence. That's what I'm trying to drive at. Here are some of the ways to influence others that go beyond having great financial resources. The first thing is communication. How can you communicate your vision, your idea, what you want to share? So these things I want to share are the things you can work on even when you don't have so much resources. Hone your communication skills. I told you that when I started, and I've not gotten the communication skills that I desire, to come out and have this conversation with you listeners. But I have decided to start and to work on it. And I don't necessarily need to go so far or to go for expensive courses to do it. Thank God for the advent of social media and YouTube channels and things around that one can use to keep improving. So honing your communication skills, being able to articulate your ideas clearly and persuasively is essential for influencing others. And it doesn't take so much money to do that. So I am trying to tell you that you can start your influence, and over time as you grow, the resources will come and you can now move up and do something better, and things like that. You will also get the resources, to go for courses that you might not be able to afford at the beginning, but just start from where you are. The second thing is expertise. I said the first thing that you need, to have influence. We are talking about having, and I'm prioritizing influence first before the affluence, because many times we feel that until we have money, we cannot do what we desire. We can start from where we are. So 2, expertise. Become an expert in your field. When you are knowledgeable and can give valuable insight in your sphere, people would naturally be drawn to you. I chose the home because that is my element. I can stay at home, not sleeping or watching movies, but doing productive work, honestly. And I will not feel I'm missing out anything. That's the truth. I will not feel that, there's something outside that, I need to, unless I really need to go out to get something. But that is where I have found my power, I found my space. That doesn't mean I don't go out. Oh no, I go out too. But what I'm trying to say is that expertise, when you are, so I chose At Home with Ifeno, or I chose the home front because I believe everything starts from there. And I started, even before I got married, I started reading about family, things about homemaking, home management, how the house should look like, what you can do, things you can do to keep the environment welcoming, and so many things. And I still have those books. So become knowledgeable. We are sharing how you can begin to have influence beyond having the resources that you desire. You work on your communication skills. You focus on your area of strength where you have expertise that you are passionate about, or you have great knowledge and you know a lot about that area. When you do that, you will naturally give value out and people will be drawn by your influence. And 3 is credibility. This is very, very critical. Can people trust you and see you as a respectable person? Are you someone who keeps to their promises and follows through to their commitments? If your answer is yes to the above questions, then people are more likely to believe in your ideas. So if people cannot trust you on day-to-day issues, your yes is your yes, your no is your no. Yes, there could be things that will come up and challenges and things did not work out. But can people say, if Ifeno says this is what she means? That is where credibility comes. If people can trust you in the little things, even the Bible says that if you are faithful with the little, bigger things will be entrusted to you. So if people can see you as a credible person, a person of integrity, when you are coming with your big idea, your great idea, you will get their hearts, you will win their hearts. So these are the 3 qualities: your communication, your expertise, your credibility. You don't need money to be credible. No, you don't need money to be knowledgeable in your field of expertise. You don't need money necessarily to work on your communication skills. You must not go for that very expensive course. You can start with reading books around you, going online for resources on what to do to hone your skills. So when you have these 3 qualities, which money doesn't necessarily need to get you, and you have developed and worked on who you are becoming, then eventually the resources will start coming to you. Yes, it will trickle down. Value attracts resources. Value attracts that affluence that you are looking for. So let me read a quote I saw some time ago, and I've refused to let it go. I have it saved. It says, God is calling us for influence, but we are pursuing affluence. I'll take it again. God is calling us for influence, but we are pursuing affluence. The influence we eventually have is not to promote ourselves, but to project your Creator God. The influence you eventually have is to promote and to project the one who created you, who is your source, who gives you your true identity, who helps us on this journey of becoming the person whom He created you and I to be. When we use this influence for His glory, the affluence will follow, the resources will come. So it's about getting our priorities right, in the right order. Prioritize God. Be diligent in your area of expertise. Keep on working on your transformative journey of becoming, which is not a sprint, but a marathon, a continuous journey that never ends as long as you are still breathing. Through your excellent character, positive influence on others, and then the affluence would come, which is to be used to be a blessing to others beyond meeting your needs. This is what discovering you is really all about. So I welcome you to a new season of discovering yourself in God by understanding who you are, becoming who you were created to be, having positive influence and affluence to impact the world. That is your sphere of influence, all to God's glory. I want to encourage you to listen again to episode 64, which had to do with who am I? That was part 1. And also to episode 72, which was the last one we talked about becoming, part 2. And this episode on having, there's a quote by Zig Ziglar. He says, repetition is the mother of learning, the father of action, which makes it the architect of accomplishment. I'll take it again. Repetition is the mother of learning. It is the father of action, which makes it the architect of accomplishment. So in order to see the reality of all that we have been learning on discovering you, we need to go back to listen and listen repetitively, listen and listen to these episodes that we have talked on discovering you, and even past episodes. There is power in repeating, and I would add repeating the right things. It will do us no good to just listen and just, forget. No, we need to go back and listen. I've discovered that when you go back and listen, even when I go back and listen, I find out that I never knew I said some things I said. So over and over, when we do that, we are assuring ourselves that we are learning, taking note of what we need to act on, and then we see that we accomplished so much more than we could ever imagine. So I say once again, welcome to discovering you. Thanks for joining us this week on At Home with Ifeno. Check us out on Instagram at Ifeno17. As always, subscribe to the show to catch every new episode and leave us a review so we can continue to bring you fresh content. See you next in 2 weeks' time.